Welcome back, third grade scientists. This week you will be working on a project called the 10 World Parks Club. And during that project, you will be studying the climate zones around the world. So I thought we would pause for a minute and go over what are the world's climate zones. So let's go exploring. Okay, what are climate zones? When you hear the words weather and climate, you might think they're the same thing. We've gone over these words during our vocabulary review, but they can be easily confused, and they're actually quite different. It might be rainy today, or it might be sunny. That's the weather. The weather can change day to day. You can have a sunny day or a rainy day. That's the weather. But climate is a pattern of weather in a place over a much longer time. So think about the North Pole. It's always cold there in the polar zones, right? It's always cold and snowy and icy. You can expect it to be that way almost every day. That's a pattern of weather that lasts for a much longer time in the same place. The Earth has several different climate zones in relation to where the Earth is to the sun, that each have their own patterns of weather. So let's take a look at the Earth's different climate zones. This is a world map, and it shows the climate zones of the world. You can see where they're located on the map, and then around the map, some pictures that show examples of the different types of climate zones. A world's climate map is divided into climate zones, or areas that share similar climate features, such as temperature and rainfall. These zones on the map are identified using different colors. The legend, which shows the color, represents each climate. Look at the map below. The same climate can be found in many different parts of the world. So if we take a look down here at the legend, we see that some areas are colored in a purple or bluish color. Those are the polar zones. So you notice that they happen at the top of the globe and at the bottom, at the furthest place away from the equator. So down here in Antarctica and up here at the North Pole. Then you see some areas are colored in green. Those are called the temperate zones. They have mild summers and cold winters, right? So they have the 4 seasons, which is, we live in the temperate zone. We experience all 4 seasons. We have cold weather in the winter and warm weather in the summer. Then you see some areas are colored in yellow. Those are the desert zones. They are hot and dry places most of the time. The Mediterranean zone is orange, very similar to the temperate zone. The tropical zone is colored in red because it is hot and humid most of the time. And these are the areas that are closest to the middle of the globe, near the equator. And finally, you see some areas are colored in black. Those are the mountain zones where they have high elevations. So here you see some different examples or pictures of those places. This is an example of what it looks like in the polar zone most of the time. The temperate zone, which is what we know very well. The desert zone, Mediterranean is near the water. Tropical, hot, humid tropical rainforests, and the mountain zones where you have forests and high elevations of mountains. A polar climate in places like Alaska is dry and cold. And most of North America has a temperate climate, which is where we live, with cold winters and mild summers. A desert climate is dry and hot. A Mediterranean climate has mild winters and hot, dry summers. So the most similar to the temperate climate. Italy has a Mediterranean climate. Tropical climate zones are hot and wet, like Hawaii, and a mountain climate is wet and windy. Which climate zone would be your first choice to live in? Is it where you live now? Or if you could choose a different climate zone, which one would you choose? Well done studying and looking at the climate zones. Be sure to use what you've learned today about climate zones when working on your 10 World Parks Club project. I hope this helps. Good luck, good learning, third grade scientists.